A line graph is used to show how data changes over time. Here we have a set of data for the number of movies released each year from the year 2015 to the year 2019. I've started by labeling what we kind of call the x-axis or the horizontal axis with the years. And then I'm going to figure out a way to split up the numbers to put on the vertical axis. So to do that, I first identify what my smallest and biggest numbers are. Now, you can actually start your graph from 0 all the time if you wanted to, but if we want to make this graph have a little more detail, we may not want to start it at 0, and we may want to start it at 700, so we have a little bit more room for our numbers to spread out. So I think that's what I'll do. Typically, if you start a graph not at 0, I mean, you don't have to do this, but typically what you would do is, now my computer's going to go super slow for me, is you would kind of put a little, that's not what I want, line drawing tool. You would usually put just a little like jig jag in here to indicate, okay, this maybe goes down to 0 and then all of a sudden it like skips up to 700 or something like that, right? So since we have the smallest to the biggest goes from about 700 to 880, 878, we can use that to help us figure out how spaced out these need to be. Okay, you don't actually have to do this little thing. You don't have to start at 0. That's just one suggestion of how to do this. You've probably already written on it and now you're annoyed with me, but I feel like or you will be, I feel like I just want this bottom line to be 700. I think that would be easier, but totally up to you. You can leave the 0 there and put your graph starting at 700 on another line, or just start from 0 and have just 7 and 8 and 900 be up here at the top. All right, so since this is going to go from about 700 to about 880, we could even just subtract these two numbers and divide it by the number of lines we have here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. So if we take that amount and divide it by 10 and then just kind of round it to a nice number, because it divides into about 17 or 18, but 20 I think would be a better increment. So why don't we count by 20s? So I'm going to make this line 720 and then 740 and then 760, 780, 800, 820, 840, 860, 880, 900. See, we even had room. We could have put that 0 at the bottom and then just had our squiggle going up to the 700 line first if we wanted to. I'm not going to change it again, though. So in 2015, we had 706 movies. So that's going to be not quite halfway up between, because halfway here would be 710, right? So 706 would be about right there. And then in 2016, we had 737 movies, so that would be about there. And then 2017, we had 740 movies. And then for some reason, 2018 was the big year with 878. And then 2019 dips a little bit to 786. It would be really interesting after this pandemic year of ours to see what happened in 2020, just because, theaters shut down and I feel like a lot fewer movies were released than were expected to. Some of them were delayed, like Top Gun put off till next year and things like that. So that would probably be a huge dip in data, and our data might even have to go below 700. Who knows? I'm just making some random guesses. Okay, so now to complete our line graph, we would then connect our dots with lines. If you would like a ruler to make this nice, I do have some rulers you can use. So that line graph shows us how the data changes over time. So there's a low increase here because the line is more flat, but there's a really big increase here because that line is more steep. It has a bigger slope, right? So you can look at the slopes of the lines to help see how fast or how slow something has changed in relative to the other time periods. All right, now that we've sketched a line graph of our data, let's go ahead and read a line graph that's already been drawn for us and analyze it to answer some questions. Okay, so question number one. Well, first of all, let's look at what this graph represents. So we've got the time across the bottom in months, labeled with just the first letter of each month. I never realized that the first letter of each month spells Jason in there. Did you just see that? July, August, September, October, November. That's pretty cool. All right, and then we have the number of surfboards sold. Woohoo! I'm assuming this is in some sort of beach town where that kind of stuff would sell, right? So in which month were the least number of surfboards sold? So the very lowest point on our graph is what month? February. Good job. So February. Which are the two best months for selling surfboards? Where are our highest numbers? Would you say June and July? Because the two highest points in our line graph are here and here. And those are the months starting with J. All right, now this one we have to analyze a little closer. In which 3 successive months did the sale of surfboards decrease the most? So when we're looking for increase or decrease, we're looking at the slope of the line. So this line has a smaller slope, but it's negative going downward. This line right here has a fairly steep slope going upward. So this is interesting. See how this slope from April to May and then May to June is actually a little flatter than the slope from February to April. So a little bit flatter in there. That's a smaller amount of growth. We're looking for a decrease. So we want a negative slope going down. So this one is not as steep. So I would say June to July is not the most decrease. But if we look from there, from July to August, there's a really steep decrease. And it's still pretty steep from August to September. And still pretty steep, even though it starts to flatten out just a little bit from September to October. And then it flattens out even a little more, which makes this look a little bit curvy. Before November, when they start to go up again. Why do you think sales would go up in November of all times? Maybe people buying them as gifts for Christmas? Who knows? Okay, so it looks like it would decrease the most from July to August, and then from August to September. So which 3 successive months? So I would say July, August, September, perhaps. So funny enough, July was one of our peak selling months, but then it had the most decrease to the month of August anyway, right? Or maybe if this is the amount sold in July, that means that after July is over, here's the amount in August. What do you guys think? Would it be better to say it was July or September, or August, September, October? Maybe that would be a better answer. Maybe we should take July out of there because July had a lot of sales. And then the steepest decreases happened during those next few months, right? Because this would be all of August sales. So from this amount in all of July to all of August, that would be the decrease. And then here and then here. I think that would be a better answer. Now, would I mark you wrong for mixing those up? Probably not, because if I'm not entirely sure, then I think that this question is just a little bit ambiguous in the way that it's asked, which makes answering that a little bit confusing. So I hope you kind of understand how this gives us a general idea of how data can change over time.